Welcome, everybody. This is our APR Facilitator Orientation session for spring 2020, the year of hindsight. If you haven't heard that already, you'll hear it many times, I'm sure. So what we do is we are going to talk about supporting APR candidates for accreditation, and this is really a special webcast designed for accreditation chairs, coaches, APR facilitators, and so we're hoping that all of you can participate today. I'm Michael Henry, the technical facilitator for the APR online study course. And as you all know, we like to have you type in the chat window. So feel free, even those on the panel, type just your city or your chapter in the text chat. You click on attendee chat in the top left-hand corner, and just type I'm in, I'll say Kansas City here. Okay, and one reason that we do that is it really helps people understand that they can type questions or type comments or feedback anytime. We try to get people involved in each one of these meetings, and so the design of the meeting is not to have people passively listen, but to really be actively involved in the discussion. So speaking of active involvement, we've got actually a great panel. We've got JP Arnold. JP, welcome.
Glad to be here. Thank you very much, Michael.
Excellent. And we'll have JP and all of the facilitators that are on the panel today introduce themselves in a little bit more. But Shelley, we want to say welcome to you. Welcome, Shelley.
Hi, thank you.
We're really glad that you're here. And Joan D'Amico is not here, but Cindy Warner stepped in at the last minute. Cindy, are you there?
I am. Hello, everyone.
We're really glad that you're here. And actually, Cindy, did you know Shelley before I connected the two of you?
Well, Shelley and I actually serve on the NSPRA APR committee together, trying to drum up new APR candidates from our National School Public Relations Association. So yeah, we do know each other.
Excellent. So the rest of us are all virtual. We've never met, although I met a lot of people. I went to the conference in San Diego and met Mike Daly, who is in on this call. And so we have a good group of APR facilitators. And so the agenda today is really just to do a little bit of introductions, talk about the APR facilitator role, the resources that are available to you to facilitate and coach, the online study course, just how that works, because it's foreign to many people and some APR facilitators. We'll talk about learning strategies as well, because sometimes people don't understand exactly how we're using the online study course to help people succeed on the APR examination. And then we'll talk about how mentoring works and how we can support your needs. And throughout this session, just as I mentioned before, I'm happy to have you type into the attendee chat. If you have a specific question, you can type it into the attendee chat area. This isn't a huge meeting, so we should be able to get to all of those messages. So feel free to just, sometimes I'm going to actually do as an example. Sometimes it's really helpful to go to type question in capitals, because that helps us know that we really need to respond to your question before we continue. So we do, as we mentioned, we like to use text chat as part of the discussion. So we want you to just talk about your personal experience for a moment. Share if you worked with a mentor or a coach for your APR, or did you stiff it out and do it your entire yourself? Just type into the chat window and just let us know, did you work with a coach? Yes, I did work with a coach. Or no, I didn't. I did it completely by myself. Jennifer worked with a mentor, and Shelley worked with a mentor also, who happened to be a supervisor with you and also worked with Cindy. That's fantastic. Grant worked with a mentor as well as in the online course. And JP had a mentor, and Susan worked primarily by herself, which is okay. And Mike did it by himself. He's stiffing it out, and so and Kim's worked with the masters. So that's fantastic. And we really do encourage you as you're listening to this. Those of you who are not on the panel, that doesn't mean that you can't participate. Type into the chat window if you have a comment or a question anytime, because we really want to keep you involved in this. So the real brief function of an APR in the online study course are these qualities. The first is that we will give you a free account to the APR online study course. So in exchange for that free account, we will ask you to, and we will invite you to be an online facilitator. Online facilitator may include joining web meetings, and you don't have to join every web meeting, but join one or two in the session. Sometimes you can join as a panelist, just as we've got today, or you simply could join and listen to the discussion and respond to questions. We get a lot of questions. If we have 50 and 60 people in this call, there are times when we cannot keep up with the questions that are in the text chat area. And we have lots of APRs who join us and look at the text chat and then provide some of their experience or a link to some helpful resources. And also we get candidate questions either by email or in the online study course. So we would encourage you sometimes we can show you places where you can look up those questions and you can respond to them in a discussion forum. Or we may send out a question to the group and say, hey, we need help with this, and you could respond individually to candidates. Providing feedback is extremely important. We'll talk more about this when we talk about the study strategy that we use in the online course. But your feedback is what helps motivate the candidates and also helps correct their direction when they're going in the wrong direction. We do encourage social media posting. Feel free, if you're a social media type, a Twitter type, feel free to use hashtag APRPREP. And in LinkedIn, Twitter, or Facebook, or your favorite social media platform. So one of the benefits of being a facilitator in the online study course is that you do get accreditation points for your recertification. I'm sure most of the APR facilitators don't really have too much trouble with that, but there are occasionally people who say, come up to their recertification, they go, what is this maintenance points business? It's basically professional development opportunities. When you're giving back, you're also learning yourself. So you can get 3 points per year for service in a chapter region or as an accreditation chair or as a facilitator in the online study course. You can also get 1 point per panel or course service that should be panel presentation, or teaching an accreditation review course, 2 points for facilitating in the online study course, 4 points for completing or refreshing a course. Now, I wish I had Kathy Mulvihill here, because I don't understand why you get 2 points for facilitating in the online course and 3 points for chapter regional accreditation chair. Maybe the chair gets 3 points and a facilitator just gets 2 points. So that's probably what that is. You can also take the online course if you've never taken it, and you can complete the online course, which we consider 75% of the activities, and you can get 4 points toward your accreditation. That's only if you have never taken the APR online study course. And then probably one of the most significant activities for APR facilitators is facilitating an APR webcast, just like the one that you're seeing right now. And frankly, I'm going to ask the panel to comment on these things, because sometimes I say that it's not very technical, but other people say, no, wait a minute, that was really tough. So I'm going to ask you to comment on that. We think it's not very technical. You could just use a telephone. If you don't have a computer, you need to get the PDF slides. Once you get the PDF slides, you could print them out and you could use your telephone. We've had people participate in a car on the panel using a phone. Hopefully they weren't the one driving, but I don't know for sure. And we also ask the candidates themselves to present. That goes back to that learning strategy that we use. We use a seminar approach to these meetings. That means that you, as a facilitator, you don't generate the presentations. We ask the candidates, who are professionals just like you, to create slides for notes on a topic, to create sample scenario questions, to create case problem responses. And then the APR facilitators simply provide feedback. So, and we're also happy to have you, if you're nervous about this and not sure how this is going to work, we're happy to have you join any one of the web meetings or as many web meetings as you'd like until you feel comfortable. And then we'd be happy to have you join the panel. So let's do some introductions. And Shelley, I would love I think of the group, at least of the panel, you're sort of the one that's most recently received your APR. So let's give Shelley a big round of congratulations. And Shelley, just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your understanding of how the facilitators help you in the online study course.
Okay, Michael is correct. I likely am one of the newer APRs in the group. I achieved accreditation in November, so just 2 short months ago. I do see someone else in the attendee chat that was with me who I was fortunate to meet in person, which is April Turner. So for me, the feedback I received, I participated in 3 cohorts. I started last spring. I participated in the summer cohort, and then I completed the fall cohort just this past November. And for me, the feedback from the other facilitators in the group was amazing. I did choose to present. I presented notes. I presented a case problem scenario in the summer cohort, as well as my actual panel presentation. And as I mentioned, I received just great feedback that I was able to go back and look at the items that I had presented to take a look at maybe things that weren't clear to APRs. And I feel like that particular experience helped prepare me for the panel presentation especially. So I found the online cohort was essential into me completing the APR process.
That's great, Shelley. We're really happy to have you here. And Shelley is also going to be joining us as an APR facilitator in the spring cohort. And some of you might say, well, she's only been around 2. No, the truth is she's got a great perspective on the examination, and she'll be able to really, in a very fresh and vibrant way, share the experience. So we're looking forward to that, Shelley. I'm really glad you're here.
Thank you. And I do have to say, just a quick note here, that I actually connected with Cindy Warner through the online study course. She's a member of the National School Public Relations Association, as am I, and I was looking for, a mentor outside of my network. I really wanted to work with someone who didn't know me, didn't know my work ethic, didn't know my background, and Cindy was kind enough to kind of take me under her wing and reviewed my panel presentation for me. So that was another benefit for me of the online study group, as I was able to meet Cindy, and she was able to provide me with that mentorship as well. So thank you, Cindy.
That's great. We've got Cindy on the call, so Cindy, we'll get to you in a second. JP, we'd love to have you introduce yourself as well and talk a little bit. And JP has not been through the online study course. At least I don't think you have. Have you, JP?
Correct, I have not.
So we would love it if you would sort of share even questions about how this works as well, and what motivated you to volunteer and say you'd like to get involved.
Yes, again, thank you, Michael. And I obtained my APR in February 2016, and I took an APR workshop here in the Pikes Peak chapter, and then met with a couple of different mentors, one in the Denver chapter, Colorado chapter. And it was, for me, it was a little challenging at times. The workshop was great, but it needed to be a little bit more fresher in content. And right now, as the APR chair, for the Pikes Peak chapter, I'm not able to do a workshop in the evening, and as well, while I think it was beneficial, the online perspective, the content is going to be more up to date, and then you're going to get different perspectives. And I want to encourage the candidates here in the Pikes Peak chapter to pursue this route. And for me, if I want to engage and assist, then I need to understand. So that's why I'm here. And I very much appreciate the opportunity to help anyone through their APR journey.
Excellent, JP. And I should tell you that the online study course, we try to keep it very affordable. I mean, we struggle with that all the time. And honestly, when people need to gain access beyond the subscription period, we're softies and we just say, we'll just extend your account. We try as best we can to keep it very affordable. But even in addition to that, JP, we do have a group discount. And this is important for all APRs to know. If you can get 5 individuals who are ready to start studying for their APR, we can put them into a group discount. So we just need 5 individuals who are ready to do that, and we'll take 25% off of the enrollment fee, which turns out to be $169. If you were to do a professional development web meeting, there are some that are more than that just for one web meeting for professional development. So we try to keep it as accessible and available as possible, but there are costs that need to be covered in this particular activity. So I would encourage your people, JP, to get together in a little group and we can give them that group discount.
Thank you. And I think as well, when the test had a modification back around 2015, and I was trying to find someone who had taken it, and it was a long search, and ended up finding someone in Denver who had taken the newer test, if you would, the format. And I think an online study course is going to have those persons available that have passed and can provide just some insight on what to expect and to kind of help that process of familiarization with the format. So I think that's another great bonus of the online study course.
Excellent, JP. We'll look forward to your folks joining us soon. And then Joan D'Amico is unable to join us, but we have Cindy Warner. Cindy.
Hey guys, and before y'all think I'm completely nuts, I got Shelly confused with my APR committee member Leslie, but I still know Shelly though because she is right that I helped mentor her. So I'm having one of those days today where everything's kind of merging together on me. But hello.
That's every day for me. It's every day for me.
Okay,
go ahead and share your perspective. And actually, Cindy's probably one of the most seasoned and experienced APR facilitators. Cindy's been doing this for many years. So please introduce yourself and share the value to you personally being an APR facilitator.
Yes, and like Shelly was sharing earlier, I was one of those that stayed enrolled in several cohorts, and part of that was because some of the folks here locally that I knew that were getting their APR, they were a little ahead of me in the process, and so they did have some local study groups that they had joined, and but just because of my work schedule and some other things, I just didn't feel that was going to work for me. I had a very busy schedule at the time, and so I needed to be able to find something that I could do at my own pace, but yet would still provide me the support that I felt like I needed. And so it was kind of the online modules, provided the reinforcement to the learning that I was doing for my APR. But the online cohort sort of gave me that little support community that I was also looking for. So that to me was the great benefit, and much like Shelly, just because of the other things that were going on in my life at the time. It took me, several goes through, several rounds to feel like I was ready to finally take the exam. The benefit of being a facilitator now is that I love mentoring others, but there are not just a ton of people here in my state that are currently working on their APR. Most of my school public relations colleagues that I'm in real close proximity to are APRs already. They're the ones that were ahead of me in the process, and so being able to be an online facilitator has given me an opportunity to sort of, do that mentoring that I love to do, and it's given me a wonderful opportunity to connect and meet new people and, meet face-to-face or at least virtually or on the telephone or whatever with folks from all over the country that are my national colleagues in our particular field of school public relations. So it's just given me a great opportunity to feel like I'm helping invest back into others the same way that the online facilitators helped invest in me initially.
That's great. Paying it forward. That's fantastic, Cindy. Thank you so much. And so in terms of facilitation resources, that we have many handouts. Many of them were written by Fern Bonamy. In fact, I'd love to find out anyone in this group who knows Fern Bonamy. Many of you know her through her writings. She used to join the web meetings as an APR facilitator many years ago. But is there anyone here who has met Fern like I have, which I feel honored to have been able to meet Fern? She's a real direct communicator, and when you don't do things right for the APR, she gets right down on you. And I occasionally channel a little bit of Fern in maybe a kinder, gentler way, but she's really she did a great service to the API by sharing a lot of coaching tools, and many of those handouts are available in the online study course. We also have instructions to help facilitate each session, and I'm a pretty good communicator when it comes to helping people understand what's required, so I don't want to leave you out there in the dark. I'm also available for a telephone call just about any time you need that. We're also happy to have you observe web meetings and learn from that as well. And we also do obviously have this orientation. So we have some resources. So let's just talk to the panel once again, but let's start with Cindy this time. In terms of using the resources, what kinds of preparation did you need to do to facilitate an APR web meeting? So you went through the online course, then did you go to your short bookshelf of text? What did you do, Cindy? And how did you use resources?
Well, for the online meetings, Michael gives you an opportunity to sign up for, ones that you're available for or ones that you feel like you maybe particularly sort of have an expertise in. And he always gives plenty of notice ahead of time that when he's preparing the slides for the meeting and shares those slides with you ahead of time. And so you're able to kind of go through the slides ahead of time and look through and see, the scenario questions that are being asked and the answers that are being provided for those and, module notes that are being presented from candidates, and then also if there's a case study problem, those are usually included. And so, being able to sort of have that ahead of time just allows you to prepare and kind of be thinking through, even with like the scenario questions, for instance. Is that really a question that is, worded like it's going to be on the exam, or is that a good example of showing a strategy or showing, evaluation methods? And so for me, the preparation is always as good as Michael's preparation and whether or not, we get those things ahead of time and are able to see. Of course, still having access to the online courses is also very helpful to be able to go back and freshen up on your own skills. and then for me, I would say that, allowing the people that are in the online course to share with you what they're working on, it kind of keeps you fresh in that same state of mind and that mentality. So I would say that just the mentoring in and of itself and seeing what the candidates are sharing with me in terms of their presentations has been more than adequate preparation, I feel like, for them also being able to help mentor or facilitate online.
Excellent. And Shelley, you've been exposed to how APR facilitators work within the meeting, but you haven't really done it yet. So do you see any resources that you might need before, or do you feel like you kind of understand the sort of the natural flow of how it's going to be an APR facilitator?
I think given the experience that I have as far as presenting as a candidate, I'm familiar with some of the things that Cindy just described. And, when you present from a candidate, viewpoint, you do receive the slides in advance, so you're able to see, where your part of the presentation is. But I see in the attendee chat where Mike said that he found it helpful to be familiar with the content that was assigned for that particular module. So when you sent out the request or the email to individuals last week to see if there was interest in serving as a facilitator, I offered to fill in where needed because I, had success through the course. I wanted to be able to come in now as an APR and help others as I was helped. But I tried to look for particular modules that maybe I enjoyed the most in learning about. So that I would maybe go back and look at the readings and just freshen up on things that I may have missed in going through the process. So I think that's a good strategy from a facilitator standpoint.
Great. Thank you so much, Shelley. And JP is sort of new to all of this. And so really we'll turn to you, JP, for any questions that you might have. You sort of represent anyone who's listening to this or watching this who's interested in helping but doesn't know how. Are you getting a clear picture of how all this works?
Yes, and Shelley has mentioned just kind of gaining that understanding of the process and looking at different types of study and different types of resources, whether it's the case studies or scenario, and just implementing that into your study plan. And so I think those are some very good observations of kind of helping to encourage and equip people to get ready for the APR. As well, I think when you look at the complexity of the test in itself, how much time and effort should you focus on RPIE versus ethics versus another one of the emphasized areas. So I think that would be a question: is kind of how would you break down the percentages of time to study per each section?
That's great. And I don't think we're going to answer that question right now, only because it's a long discussion. I should say that one of the things we do in the online study course is we ask candidates to do a self-assessment of their strengths and weaknesses based on the KSAs, and that really helps inform the individual's perspective on where they should spend their time. So this has been a really great discussion. We're almost at the bottom of the hour and only about halfway through, but I think I'm going to breeze through pretty quickly unless somebody just says uncle and says don't do that. Many of you know that the examination is based on the KSAs. The curriculum in the online course is also based on the KSAs. And the types of facilitators that we have several different types. Mike Daly, for example, he's in the meeting here. He is reviewing Module 9, and he's reviewing the course and the curriculum and the how the topic is expressed in activities. And I'm working with Mike daily to update the content in that particular module. So if anyone's listening to this and says, gosh, communication models and theories is my area of expertise, I'd like to work with Michael and update that particular module or some of the presentations or handouts in that module, feel free to contact me from that level. The other level, which, as we've talked about already, is this idea of facilitating a web meeting, just like you can see the facilitators today. And then also coaching candidates. We do match. We have a couple of tools within the online course to match candidates with mentors. And so that's another way. And then also reviewing a case presentation or a case problem response. It's really up to you to decide how you facilitate. You can back off, you can come in, you can jump in and jump out at any time. So the online course, and this is what I'm going to go quickly through because many of you are already familiar with it. It's designed as a support mechanism, not to replace all study. I'm not even going to ask this question. We're just going to continue on. Some of the activities that we do are the panel presentation, the scenario practice question, book reviews, sharing notes, sharing case problems. And remember that all of these are done by the candidates. So the APR facilitators simply provide the feedback to the presentations that are developed by the candidates. The course is self-paced. So if somebody wants to study by themselves without going at a certain speed, they can do that. They can go as quickly or as slowly through the curriculum as they want. But we add these web meetings as a way to help motivate people and also to get them more involved in their own learning. And so those are opt-in groups. They're included in the registration. So there's no additional charge, and they can go into as many cohort groups or as many web meetings as they want. The platform is cool. I'll just say that. So the study cohorts are 3 of them. We do one in the fall, August through November, spring, February through April, and then summer, June and July. And as I mentioned, they may join as many as they like. So I'm actually going to continue because we are further beyond our time than I had thought. So the online course is similar to other online courses, but of course we have things like points, and you can also see the percentage complete in the online course. And you can also see there's a button so that if you sign in on one computer and then sign in on a completely different computer somewhere else, it will automatically take you back to the last page that you were looking at. So the last place in the course that you were located. So it tracks your progress as you go through the course. There are little check marks that show you when you've completed activities on the course map. And as I mentioned before, one of the first activities is to do a self-assessment on the knowledge, skills, and abilities. And we ask people to do that a couple of times. And we also ask them to share that with their coach or their mentor or their study partner so that they can find out where are the areas of need. Also, one of the activities is a scenario practice question formation activity. You've heard about that. And we also have scenarios that people sort of situations where we place people in certain situations and they have to make decisions based on their role. The book reviews help. We tell people not to go out and buy the short bookshelf texts until they know which one is going to help them. Because I've heard some people go out and buy the entire thing, honestly, and some of them buy the new books, and they don't really do that. We tell them, buy a used book, but figure out which one is going to really help you, and then have that in your library, because the library is only good enough. It's only useful when you use the library. So study strategies, as we mentioned before, we use the scenario approach. They have case problem presentations and they share a RPI response to the case problem. And then we discuss that. We have milestones in the online course, the KSA as self-assessment. We ask people to set a target date for their panel presentation and computer-based examination. But the key here is they don't need to apply for the APR examination until after they feel competent that they could pass the examination. I've heard some chapters say, well, the first thing you do is apply for the APR examination and do your panel presentation. And then people receive notification that they passed their panel presentation and here's your code to go take the examination. And some people go and take the examination before they're prepared. So I have heard a lot of people say, thank God you told me not to apply until I was confident that I could pass the examination. And people come out of the online study course and they pass the examination first time. So we know that if they apply themselves to this curriculum, they will pass the examination. So read and study the modules. We do consider the case problem a critical activity. If you see a candidate create a goal that is more of a tactic, you know they're not ready. And we see a lot of candidates do that. So this case problem presentation, case problem response activity is critical to the success of any candidate anywhere. I don't care if they don't take the online study course. Then we ask in the online course, we ask people to do a panel presentation at the end after they've studied all of the KSAs. And frankly, that's a lot easier to do your panel presentation once you've done all of the KSAs. And then you apply, do your panel presentation, and take the examination. You could do it in a matter of 3 or 4 weeks. And that's the best practice approach that we recommend. We ask candidates to volunteer for those activities. We mentioned that already. And so now I'm going to stop and get some feedback. JP has probably heard some of this for the first time. So JP, I'm going to sort of turn to you for comments, for questions, for suggestions.
Well, I think that's a great recipe towards obtaining APR, and it's very sequential, and you don't want to start something that you can't finish. And for myself, I had to retake the panel presentation, and for me, that was I'm a retired Army Public Affairs officer, and I worked in public affairs for many years with my master's degree, and I thought I was just a shoo-in. I was just like, okay, where's the APR? I'm ready to take it. And the panel said, you're not. And that was a great splash of cold water on me to say, you're not doing what is required. And so I had to double down and rethink and reassert myself. And I like this approach, and it's almost a no-fail approach. You don't want to use those terms, but it really is a good recipe. And you got to get down to the basics of what does the study guide say this term means and that term means, not what my former boss said that term meant. And I think when you look at this recipe, it just reinforces the terminology. It reinforces the 4-step process. It reinforces how you should approach a case study or scenario in the way that the APR says to do it, not some other boss or some other organization. And that was the roadblock for me initially to taking the test, and I eventually took it and obviously passed. But I wish I'd have done this beforehand.
Well, it's fine, JP. And actually, we have a lot of people, unfortunately, that come to the online study course after taking the examination and failing. And that is, I would say, probably about 25 to 30% of the people who come into the online course. That's the situation that they're in. So, and I should say that we do have a lot of people who go through step by step, and there's a lot of work in the online course. And we don't expect you complete in the online course until you get to 75% of the activities. And we track every single one of them and doing the milestone activities. But we've seen that when they do that, they pass the APR examination. So Shelley, why don't you share just a little bit about your experience?
So for me, my experience, I really felt like I was prepared to, and it's actually when I applied, when I actually submitted my application through PRSA was after I finished the summer cohort and I presented a case problem response, that I felt like I was prepared to take the exam and do my panel presentation in the fall. And what I found particularly helpful with the online study course and the feedback from some of the APRs throughout the modules is that the program that I presented for my panel presentation, I started working on that in 2016, which was prior to the start of my APR journey. So there were some things that I had done in that particular program that I had to re-examine and reevaluate as I was putting my presentation together. So what I found helpful in that is I was able to present my program and say, well, here's the work that I did, but here's how I would change it as I study for the APR and as I've gone through the process. And I added some additional recommended research, a few additional evaluation tools, but I also tweaked some of my strategies so that they weren't more of a tactical basis. It's very easy to just put together things that you want to do, and they're all tactical and they're not necessarily your strategy. So that's initially for me, I struggled with that, but going through the online course and taking a look at what I had done, I was able to update my program that I'm still working with in my role with the school district now. So that was helpful for me in learning, but also for me particularly, I don't know that I would have been as successful as I had been through my first attempt in doing both the panel presentation and the exam if I had not done the online study course, because I have small children. I'm not able to study with individuals or meet with study groups. So for me, the online course was my opportunity to study the material and work on my own schedule, which once I signed up, I participated in the PRSA boot camp in Ohio in November. So that was a condensed version for candidates to do their panel presentation as well as the exam if you passed through the panel presentation. So once I had signed up for that, I knew I had a solid 3 months to really focus and study every night. So I did most of that studying on my own, but I also found those resources on the bookshelf. I did not go out and buy all of them. I had a copy of Effective Public Relations from a graduate course. It was an older version, but it worked for me. But also really reading that study guide and going back through and going through the content, through the modules, through the recordings that are supplied to you as a candidate, and taking a look at that facilitator feedback was helpful for me the last few weeks of my studying.
That's great, Shelley. We're really happy that you're here, and we're looking forward to your participation this spring. So facilitator responsibilities, we've sort of covered that. We do encourage you to just do sort of a pen pal email kind of connection. They don't have to be face-to-face. A lot of people think coaching needs to be face-to-face. It really doesn't. And also, you're in control of your time. we do, you can facilitate from anywhere. We have facilitators that are in Alaska. Is there anyone in Alaska in this meeting? I don't know, but we've frequently have had people there. Also, we try to keep it very simple in terms of joining the web meetings. We have the little countdown clock, and we just keep it really easy. And so feel free to type into the chat window and say, yeah, I'm already a APR facilitator, or I'm already there, or I'm good to go, or whatever. Or this sounds great, but count me out. That's one of an expression. Many of you know that we schedule everybody out, and we've already got a full schedule for the 2020 spring cohort, but we always need new ones. So this meeting is for the summer and also for the fall APR cohort groups. And so if you're willing to be involved, Mike Daly says, I'm already a facilitator. We can also put together regional chapter groups. There are some tools that we can use in the online study course. If you want to use the group function within the online study course, we can help you communicate with that group. There are lots of tools out there, online tools to do that. But this one could be one that you'd like to turn to, and feel free just to write to me if you'd like to do that. Groups can share email, share files, monitor progress. So we can give you an ability to see the progress of the people in your group, which is pretty helpful. But I should say that the regional and special interest groups, they die frequently because we don't have a leader. So one of the things we always need is someone to be willing to be that leader in a regional or a special interest group. And if you are and you want to be dedicated to that for a certain period of time, just again, you can just contact me and we can get you set up. So really, thank all you guys so much. Let's, in absentia, thank Cindy. Cindy had to leave. And please, let's thank the group. And you folks know how to use on the attendee list. If you click on the attendee list, you can click one of the social media floating icons to go across the screen. And so let's thank Shelley and let's thank JP Arnold for joining us in this session tonight or this afternoon. And we're really happy that you were here. And Shelley and JP, do you have some parting comments or questions, Shelley?
No, I'm just excited to be able to participate in an upcoming cohort on the other side of the spectrum as a candidate now as an APR.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Shelley. And how about you, JP? Any final comments or questions?
I share the same excitement Shelley just mentioned, and you know, it's just a great honor to be an APR and to be able to pay it forward and help others. And I want to send Mike a shout out, our current past president for Pikes Peak chapter. He was at the Denver regional conference, and Mike said, you got to get your APR and get it now. And he was in the process, and Mike's words spurred on my good friend, and he went ahead and finished and got his APR. So thank you, Mike, for your leadership and for your encouragement.
That's Mike Daly in San Diego. Yeah, I had a great experience meeting Mike Daly for the first time because we probably knew each other online for about 2 years, and finally met each other face to face in San Diego at the Icon in PRSA in San Diego. So thank you guys very much. Remember that the cohort groups start February, so we're starting up a new group. Feel free to just let me know. And many of you are already in the facilitator group. If you're already in there, don't worry. I'll send you the schedule. May is when we set up the summer cohort group. And then September, actually August, we set up the fall cohort group. And so we do encourage you to get involved. And thank you all so much for what you do to help others become APRs. It's a wonderful journey. And each one of you knows it, and it's giving of your time is really a fantastic way to pay it forward. Thank you all very much. We'll see you online. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hello?
Is that Cindy? Cindy, we just ended.